I've got this picture and it's way overexposed, it's slightly lopped off to one side, and I think it could do with some cropping as well. Look, I've got this vertical line coming down here. I've got these steps coming up here. You're spending all your time wondering what's off the side of the picture, so I want to do something to try and minimize that. Also, this side here is a little bit boring, there's not much going on, so I think this could do with a crop, and I think we'll go for a square crop. Let's bring this down to some sensible proportions. Let's put the center of that globe on my rule of thirds line there. Also, I need to rotate around a little bit as well because it's slightly locked to one side, just slightly, about there. And press enter. Right, well, the first thing is it's too washed out. I need to do something about this. So I'm going to lower the exposure, and yeah, automatically I'm getting something better. I'm going to up the contrast as well. That is helping. Now for this one, I'm not particularly bothered about getting a very natural looking effect. Let's try clarity up a little bit. That's more what I want. And I think sharpness is going to make a huge difference to all these tiny little bits of textured stone. So let's come to details, detail refinement. Let's crank that up. And here, that's too much. All this grass in the background is getting way too bitty. Let's knock it down a little bit. Maybe down the radius. Just to about there. Okay. Come back to basic now. Well, I think that sky, that's just way too blown out. I wonder if I can do something with that. So come to my overlay tab. Let's get a gradient overlay and bring it down. Here, let's grab this part. Bring it up a little bit. Let's see what we can do. Let's try making the exposure lower. Yeah, that's helping with the definition on those trees. Now, can I do something? What would contrast help that a little bit? Yeah, it's making the trees a little bit darker. I do prefer that. And let's take a look at white balance. Can I make it a slightly bluer tint? That's not going to make much of a difference. Well, a very slight one, but maybe I'll go with that. Thing about it is there's not much colour in here. Let's try upping the vibrance. Whoops. And I made the mistake again. I'm trying to make changes to my gradient overlay. I want the master overlay. So come back now to tones. Let's up the vibrance. It's helping a little bit. Let's try the saturation because let's face it, everything in this picture is very knocked back. So saturation, it's giving me a slightly weird effect. All right, now I'm not sure which way I want to go with this. Do I want to try working with the colors to get a slightly unnatural but artistic effect? Or do I just want to take it to black and white? Well, let's give it a try. Come to tones, black and white. Immediately it's gone black and white. Let's see what I can do with this. Let's just slide around a few sliders. Well, there was some green in there. That's too bitty. That's helping to tame some of that grass in the background. Blue. Yeah, that does help. That helps with the steps with a bit more contrast, but the trees are getting too blocky, so I'm going to just tweak just a little bit there. Now I wonder, yellow. Actually, yeah, that is helping quite a bit. It's helping to tame the excesses on the grass. Also, if you take a look at this blown out highlighter on the end, if I make the yellow less, I'm getting a much better definition there. No, it's amazing what surprises you when you're tweaking around the colors. This red, okay, is making things a little bit brighter, but it's upping the contrast on this little clump of plants down the bottom. I think I'm going to put it to about there. I want a fairly high contrast image for this. I want it to be decorative because the thing about this is the textures are interesting and the forms are interesting. I just want to try and bring those out. Well, look, I want to go with that for now. Also want to see whether I can do something with the color. It's going to be unnatural, but let's give it a try. Let's come to snapshots. I'm going to take a snapshot of this. Then I'm going to turn off black and white. While we're on this tab, let's try split toning. So, highlights, fairly cool highlights, I think. Is that going to make a difference? No, not really. Oh. Slightly garish looking green there. Let's try the shadows, see what happens with that. Okay, I'll go with that. Let's try adjusting the balance so that that's more greenish. No, I'm not keen on that. So let's try moving the balance more towards the red side. It's giving a slightly warmer tint to the whole proceedings. Now, I've got this area around here. That's just leading the eye off. So I'm going to come to overlays. I'm going to add a brush overlay, and I'm going to make my brush as big, and I'm going to take my hardness down so it's as soft as possible. And I'm just going to brush in a little bit here. I want this to be as soft as possible, and I will include the steps in this because I'm going to adjust the exposure. Alright, then I'm going to come to my erase tool, make that big, and make that soft, because I just want to take out a little bit around here so it's not a huge blob. It's got a little bit of form, what I'm about to do. Right, let's come to basic, and let's take the exposure down a little bit. That's starting to help. Black point, a little bit darker. What about the white balance? Let's try making that maybe a little bit more green. I'll try going with that. If I wasn't on a timeline, maybe I'd start working along this horizon as well. But for now, I'm just going to come to my overlay tab, add a brush overlay, and this central bollard, that's the main subject. That could do with being having a little bit of work done on it. I'm going to turn on edge aware so that hopefully I'm only affecting the areas around. Wow. With edge aware turned on, things are really starting to slow down. All right, let's just get on with it. Right, so basic. I wonder if a bit of contrast is going to help this. Ooh, that's looking a little bit more interesting. What about the brightness? So I'm getting more of a contrasty type image, and I'm trying to bring out some of this texture around here as well. Unfortunately, with overlay, the clarity slider doesn't work, which is a shame. And what happens if I up the vibrance? Okay, I know it's looking unnatural, but I just want to play a little bit of games with it. You'll see this kind of thing happening all the time. When you go to websites where people advertise photography, you'll see people playing games in a raw editor all the time, just like this. It's a little bit darker around here. Can I do something with the black point? I'll kind of go with that because I just want to bring out a little bit of detail in the shadow there. You know what? I'm going to stop there. But the point is, if I come and I do a new snapshot, I can now decide whether I want black and white or this slightly over the top effect. That's the whole point of using snapshots. And if you want to see what it looked like right at the beginning, I can also use the snapshot because by default there's a snapshot there. So the beginning, black and white, color, beginning, color. Well, whatever I do decide, I think I would rather have one of my two choices than that, which when you go back to it, you realize it's looking a little bit bland and a little bit boring. Okay, that's enough for now.